When you think of high-performance sports cars, only a few names come to mind. McLaren is one of those companies that keeps pushing the boundaries by producing some of the greatest cars on the road. In this video, we'll feature everything you need to know to get you up to speed on McLaren. This is the evolution of McLaren. In 1953, young Bruce McLaren, at just 15 years old, sat behind the wheel of a modified 1929 Austin Ulster car. He built this car with his father at his service station in his hometown, Auckland, New Zealand. Although his father's initial plans were to sell this car, young Bruce convinced him to turn it into a race car. The project lasted for 2 years, and McLaren was actively involved in every stage of Ulster's restoration. He learned everything about cars and engineering, but more importantly, he developed a passion that would lead to the creation of some of the greatest cars of all time. He entered the Ulster for a local hill climb in 1953, which he won. A few years later, he arrived in the United Kingdom and started his Formula One career. And at age 22, he won the US Grand Prix, making him the youngest person to do so at the time. McLaren wanted to start his own company, and in 1963, he founded McLaren Motor Racing. Soon enough, McLaren became one of the most famous brands in racing for its outstanding victories. Historically, McLaren was a racing company and created many race cars, but as this company achieved more victories on the track, Bruce McLaren started thinking of producing a road car. The result was the prototype M6 GT. The street-legal supercar could go to 165 miles per hour and became Bruce's daily car. Sadly, Bruce McLaren would never see the finished result of the M6 GT, as he died in a car accident on June 2, 1970, at the age of 32. Bruce McLaren might have died, but his dreams of building the fastest road car in the world didn't die with him. Ron Dennis became the new CEO, and McLaren continued to thrive and dominate on the track with several outstanding victories. However, it wasn't until 1988 that the idea of building a McLaren road car was brought back to life by Gordon Murray. He sketched the design of the F1 while waiting for his flight. He convinced Ron Dennis to back the project. Building the McLaren F1 was an incredibly ambitious project, as they wanted to build the world's fastest production car. The F1 had to be low weight and high power. To achieve this, the F1 would feature numerous proprietary designs and technologies. However, building such a car was incredibly expensive. It used carbon fiber, making it one of the first cars in the world to use this material. But it also used other expensive materials such as titanium and gold. In 1992, the McLaren F1 was released at the Sporting Club in Monaco. People from all over the world loved it. Autocar stated, "The McLaren F1 is the finest driving machine yet built for the public road." They further stated, "The F1 will be remembered as one of the great events in the history of the car, and it may possibly be the fastest production road car the world will ever see." Well, they were right. In 1998, a special prototype of the car reached an incredible top speed of 240 miles per hour, setting a Guinness World Record for the world's fastest production car. Many famous people had one, including Ralph Lauren, Jay Leno, Elon Musk, and Rowan Atkinson, aka Mr. Bean. That must have been a nice change from his Mini. What makes the F1 unique is the cockpit that has the driver's seat in the middle and 2 passenger seats on the side. The F1 was also very quick, reaching 60 miles per hour in just 3.2 seconds. Despite not having been designed as a track machine, a modified F1 GTR dominated on the racetrack and won several races, including the 1995 24 Hour of Le Mans. Until today, the F1 is still considered by many as one of the greatest sports cars ever made. Almost 3 decades after it was first released, it still holds the official record of the world's fastest naturally aspirated road car ever built. From 1992 to 1998, a total of 106 of these expensive cars were built. Each had a base price of $815,000, which would be around $1.6 million today. Fun fact: legendary actor and comedian Rowan Atkinson crashed his McLaren F1 twice, but he was still able to sell it for $12.2 million. After the success of the F1, Mercedes and McLaren collaborated to develop a car. The result was the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren, released in 2003. The car was presented as Tomorrow's Silver Arrow, which was a reference to the Silver Arrows during the 1950s. This was a golden age for Mercedes in which they won countless races. The Grand Tourer had a top speed of 207 miles per hour. In total, 3,500 units were produced. After a long pause in the production of McLaren cars, a spin-off company known as McLaren Automotive was created in 2010. Then, in 2011, the McLaren MP4 12C, later simply known as 12C, was released. It was the first ever production car completely designed and built by McLaren. Prior to building the 12C, McLaren had secretly purchased a Ferrari 360 to test the 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine. A few years later, the 12C was built, which had a McLaren 3.8-liter turbocharged V8 engine generating 592 horsepower. The V8 engine was superior to the Ferrari 360. While the Ferrari 360 had a top speed of 183 miles per hour, the McLaren 12C was much faster, reaching 207 miles per hour. It could also accelerate to 60 miles per hour in only 2.8 seconds, which made it the third fastest production car at the time. The 12C had a price of around $240,000. Fun fact: to minimize weight, the car used a one-piece carbon fiber tub called the carbon monocell. Over the years, McLaren significantly reduced the time to build such a monocell. For the F1, it took McLaren around 3,000 hours. For the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren, 500 hours. And for the 12C, it took just 4 hours. The McLaren P1 was introduced in 2013, but it had a short run that lasted for just 2 years. Made almost entirely out of carbon fiber, the P1 is still considered by many as one of the greatest cars ever produced. It is considered to be the successor to the McLaren F1, utilizing Formula One technology and a 3.8-liter turbocharged V8 paired with an electric motor. Its main competitor was the LaFerrari, which had a top speed of 218 miles per hour. The McLaren P1 was only slightly slower with a top speed of 217 miles per hour. It could also reach 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds. Over its lifetime, different variants of the car were released. The McLaren P1 GTR was a limited track version of the car. In 2016, the GTR was modified as a road-legal McLaren P1 LM. And in 2018, the P1 GT was introduced as a one-off special. Fun fact, the McLaren P1 was sold for $1,150,000, and in total, 439 units were built. Surprisingly, they were all unique, since every unit was built with different specifications, often selected by the owner. Nowadays, animation is everywhere, since it is entertaining and makes explaining things so easy. If you want to learn to create animations yourself, then I would highly recommend taking the animation courses of Bloop Animations. In these courses, you'll learn the foundations of animation, how to create a storyboard, and best of all, you'll be able to create an epic animation scene in Adobe Animate. Start your animation journey today by clicking the links in the description below to get Adobe Animate and the animation courses of Bloop Animations. For every purchase you make, I receive a small commission, which will greatly support this channel so we can create more animations. Thank you, and good luck on your animation journey. Starting from 2014, McLaren adopted a naming style for their cars based on the power output in PS, followed by a model designation of C, S, GT, or LT, where C stands for Club, S for Sports, GT for Grand Tourer, and LT for Longtail. The first car released following this naming pattern was the 650S in 2014. Initially, the car was designed to be offered alongside the 12C, but the declining sales of the 12C prompted McLaren to make the 650S its replacement. The 650S is more or less a similar car as its predecessor, but with several improvements. Some improvements include a new front splitter with redesigned wing blades that increase downforce by 24% and new tires that improve handling. The 650S can reach 60 miles per hour in 2.9 seconds. It also has a top speed of 207 miles per hour, which is about the same top speed as the 12C, but it isn't nearly as powerful as the McLaren P1. The 650S had a starting price of $273,000. Multiple variants were built, including the 650S Spider, which is a convertible version. 1 year later, the 675 LT was made, a lightweight, track-focused model. In 2016, McLaren built an even more powerful car known as the MSO HS, with MSO standing for McLaren Special Operations. It was a very exclusive model since only 25 units were built. Each was fully customizable by the customer. Fun fact, a very cool model of the McLaren 650S was made by ARMYTRIX. It has a Chernobyl design, but the real question is, can it outrun a nuclear blast? In 2015, McLaren released the 570S with a new iteration of the 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine. The 570S is designed for day-to-day usability and drivability by increasing the luggage space and greater interior storage. The car wasn't as fast as the 650S and had a top speed of 204 miles per hour. It could reach 60 miles per hour in 3.2 seconds. The 570S became the least expensive McLaren, with a starting price of about $192,000. Multiple variants were released, including the 540C, 570 GT, 570S Sprint, MSO X, 600LT, and the 620R. McLaren has a plan to launch 15 new cars into the market by 2022, and the McLaren 720S was first released in 2017 at the Geneva Motor Show. According to McLaren, the 720S is 91% new compared to its predecessor, the 650S. Starting from the engine, the displacement of the 720S engine was increased to 4 liters. It was also built with a lighter carbon fiber, making it more aerodynamic and faster. The 720S can achieve a maximum speed of 212 miles per hour and reach 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds. The McLaren 720S comes at a starting price of $299,000. Just like previous McLaren models, multiple variants were built, including the 720S Spider, the 765 LT, 765 LT Spider, and a motorsport version known as the 720S GT3. McLaren introduced its high-performing luxury car, the McLaren GT, in 2019. This is the company's first dedicated Grand Tourer, and it is based on the same platform as the 720S. With a 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine, the car is able to reach 203 miles per hour and go from 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. The McLaren GT is available with a starting price of $218,000. Fun fact, the Sultan of Brunei is a big fan of McLaren and owns 10 McLaren F1s out of the 106 cars produced in total. These are extremely rare and valued between $8 to $13.5 million. The origin of McLaren cars is deeply rooted in its racing history. The McLaren Senna, unveiled in 2017, was named in honor of one of McLaren's most renowned drivers, Ayrton Senna. He won many races for the McLaren Formula One team, including 3 Formula One World Drivers' Championships and 35 Formula One Grand Prix races. McLaren's main focus while designing the Senna was to achieve faster lap times by giving the car a lightweight design and aerodynamic elements. The car is largely based on the 720S, but has a modified carbon fiber structure and engine. According to McLaren, the Senna is, quote, the most track-focused road car we have ever built, and it will set the fastest lap times of any McLaren to date. This street-legal sports car has a top speed of 208 miles per hour, and can go to 60 miles per hour in 2.7 seconds. The McLaren Senna is priced at a whopping $1,050,000. Production will be limited to 500 units. Each will be made by hand. Besides the standard version, there are also several iterations of this model. including the Senna GTR, Senna LM, and the McLaren Sabre, which is made exclusively for the US market. It is the fastest Senna model with a top speed of 218 miles per hour. Fun fact, McLaren and Lego partnered to build a full-scale build of the McLaren Senna. In total, it took them about 5,000 hours and 467,854 Lego bricks to build the car.
The dihedral doors are made entirely out of Lego bricks.
Considered the true successor of the McLaren F1, the McLaren Speedtail is a combination of luxury and performance. The hybrid sports car was unveiled in 2018, and 2 years later, production began. The Speedtail has multiple technology features. For instance, the car is able to recharge while driving. It also has electrochromatic glass, which darkens the glass at the push of a button, eliminating the need for a sun visor. Another cool feature is that it doesn't have door mirrors and instead uses HD cameras. The Speedtail is also incredibly fast, with a top speed of 250 miles per hour, making it the fastest McLaren. Just like the McLaren F1, the Speedtail also has a 3-seat layout, with the driver sitting at the center of the car, slightly forward of 2 passenger seats. Fun fact, the Speedtail is one of the rarest McLaren cars, with only 106 examples that are expected to be made. All have already been sold for a price of around $2.7 million. McLaren Elva is one of the latest additions to the McLaren Ultimate series. The car was released in 2020 and has no windows or roof. The Elva is designed as the company's lightest sports car ever. The name Elva is derived from French words elle va, which means she goes. With 804 horsepower, the Elva is able to go to 198 miles per hour and reach 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds. Surprisingly, the Elva doesn't have a windshield and instead uses the McLaren Air Active Management System, which channels the airflow above and around the passengers, creating what McLaren calls the oasis of calm. In 2021, McLaren redesigned the Elva with a windscreen. At first, production was limited to 399 units. However, the production total was reduced to 249 units. McLaren CEO Mike Flewitt stated that the reason for this decision was customer feedback encouraging the exclusivity. The McLaren Elva comes at a base price of $1,700,000. And finally, there is the McLaren Artura that will be released in 2022. It is the successor of the McLaren 570S and is designed for lightweight and aerodynamic efficiency. McLaren's CEO called the Artura, quote, the next generation hybrid supercar, a distillation of everything we've ever learned. The hybrid sports car is able to reach 205 miles per hour, which is slightly faster than its predecessor. The Artura can also reach 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds. With a base price of $225,000, the Artura isn't as expensive as many other McLaren models. From the legendary McLaren F1 all the way to the McLaren Artura that has yet to be released, McLaren continues to create unique and innovative cars.